The burning question this hour on India Today, and with that we're beginning with breaking news that's coming in right at the top. Union Mantri's big remark on rule revision. Union Minister has come out to say SIR will remove 1.2 crore infiltrators. Modi Minister has come out to say over 1.2 crore illegal voters in Bengal at this point. BJP slams Mamata Banerjee for threatening the poll body. BJP releases video of Mamata's threat to the Election Commission. BJP has come out to say that Mamata Banerjee warns of riots if SIR is conducted in Bengal. So this is what's been said. Let's quickly take a look at all the reactions that's come into the story before we proceed with the discussion.
যেভাবে চতুর্দিকে এসআইআর নিয়ে সমালোচনা হচ্ছে, সেই এসআইআর যদি বাস্তবে কার্যকারী হয় এখানে, তাহলে এই সরকারের কিন্তু কোনো প্রকার নিস্তার নেই। এসআইআর এ কমপক্ষে 1 থেকে 1,20,00,000 মানুষ যারা অবৈধভাবে ভোটার হিসেবে পশ্চিমবঙ্গের মাটিতে আঁকড়ে ধরে বসে আছে, তারা কিন্তু বাদ যাবে। সেখানে রোহিঙ্গা মুসলিম, বাংলাদেশি মুসলিম, ভুতুরে ভোটার, এরা কিন্তু কোনোভাবেই পশ্চিমবঙ্গে আর ভোট দিতে পারবে না। এটা আপনাদের মাথায় রাখতে হবে। অতএব সাধারণ মানুষ যারা পরিবর্তন চায়, সাধারণ মানুষ যারা বাংলায় শিল্প আনতে চায়, বাংলায় শিক্ষা আনতে চায়, বাংলায় যারা স্বাস্থ্য ব্যবস্থাকে উন্নত করতে চায়, তারা কিন্তু ভোট দিতে পারবে এবং তাদের ভোটেই ভারতীয় জনতা পার্টি জয়লাভ করে আগামী দিনে সরকার গঠন করবে। এটা কিন্তু আমাদের দৃঢ় প্রয়াস এবং সেই প্রয়াস বাস্তবায়িত হবে আপনাদের কর্মকাণ্ডের মাধ্যমে। যেভাবে
ইন্ডিয়ার এজেন্সিগুলোকে যারা বিজেপির কথায় আজকে শুধুমাত্র রাজনীতি করছে, গৌরীকরণ করছে, শিক্ষা থেকে শুরু করে, সংস্কৃতি থেকে শুরু করে, ভোটার লিস্ট থেকে শুরু করে, উৎসব থেকে শুরু করে, সমস্ত এজেন্সিকে দিয়ে একজন মির্জাফর আছেন ওখানে দিল্লিতে। এই মির্জাফরদের মৃত্যু জীবনে হয় না, তারা চিরকালই বেঁচে থাকে নানা কাজের মধ্যে দিয়ে। এই মির্জাফররা মনে করেছেন তারাই শেষ কথা বলবে, কিন্তু তারা যদি এসব করতে যান, তারা কিন্তু দাঙ্গা থেকে শুরু করে আরো অনেক কেস আছে, সবকিছু কিন্তু বেরিয়ে পড়বে।
So that is the Chief Minister and the Union Minister locked in a war of words. Indrajit Kundu joins us on the broadcast to in fact set more context to this very situation. Indrajit, let's understand, the Chief Minister has come out to warn of riots if there is an SIR that's conducted. On the other hand, the Union Minister comes out to say that almost 1 crore voters will be completely wiped out who are currently illegally voting in the state.
Well, look, this is a war of narratives between the two camps, the Trinamool, the ruling Trinamool in West Bengal and the opposition BJP. Now, Mamata Banerjee, of course, hitting out all guns blazing against the BJP and the Election Commission, saying that the Election Commission is working at the behest of the BJP, whereas union ministers like Shantanu Thakur or the leader of the opposition, Shubhendu Adhikari, they have been going on for the past few weeks saying that more than 1 crore voters would be struck off the list because they are Rohingyas and illegal Bangladeshi infiltrators. Mamata Banerjee taking exception, saying how can a political party set such a narrative and say that there are illegal infiltrators? How can they dictate terms and that EC works at their behest is what her allegation is. She's also said, and this comes at a time when the Election Commission is working on full swing on ground to ensure that the proposed SIR process is kick-started in Bengal anytime soon, as sources tell us. So in that backdrop, Mamata Banerjee yesterday held a press conference and said This is not the time
Right.
for an SIR because West Bengal is dealing through a natural calamity.
Right, Indrajit. Thank you for putting context into all the narratives that's come to the forefront at this given point. But with that, viewers, let me go across to Aabha Bakaya of Business Today TV with all updates of the markets in this business show. Aabha, over to you.
Good morning and welcome to Market Opening on our brand new collab show between Business Today and India Today TV. Just after 9 this morning, we're here to get you ahead of the curve as markets kick off trading for the day. Let's take a look at what's making news this morning. Another Modi-Trump phone conversation, the second in a month. The Prime Minister says the two sides reviewed the good progress achieved in trade negotiations, sparking off speculation that a trade agreement could be closer than expected. Directors of the divided House of Tata Trust to meet today. Crucial board meeting just 3 days after Home Minister Amit Shah and Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman stepped in to diffuse a boardroom fight. Discussions likely on the potential listing of Tata Sons and a peaceful exit of Shapoorji Pallonji Group. TCS, the country's largest IT firm, reports a higher than expected decline in Q2 profits, cites restructuring expenses as its headcount falls by 20,000. The decline also comes amid uncertainty about US policies. Revenue, however, exceeds expectations, announces a new subsidiary will build a mega 1 gigawatt AI data center in the country. The ultra-high demand LG Electronics IPO makes history. The 11,600 crore issue attracts bids worth 4.39 lakh crore rupees, subscribed more than 54 times. Largest subscription ever on D Street. Grey market premium zooms to 40% on the massive demand. Anxiety and uncertainty across industries globally as China tightens controls over the export of rare earth materials used for lithium battery and graphite anode production. Controls threaten every sector from electronics to electric vehicles and jet fighters and threaten to reignite trade tensions with the US. Well, lots of key news items to run through today, but let's first take a look at the market setup and what we're in store for this morning. We're also joined by my colleague Shailendra Bhatnagar, Chief Analyst and Editor Markets, to take us through the outlook there on the index and on trade today. Overnight, cues are soft. Wall Street was pretty muted overnight, and Asia this morning, we'll just pull that up for you as well to see what kind of cues we're taking in from there. But there you have it on your screen, also trending a little weak. Shail, good morning. What's it looking like for the Nifty this Friday?
A very good morning to you, Aabha, to our viewers, and thank God it's Friday and it's accompanied by two major developments. One, Mr. Trump and Mr. Modi are in talking terms, which essentially means that the US trade deal is in the pipeline and that extra 25% sanction tariff should go away. Now, look at the Nifty. It closed near its day's high yesterday, 25,181, starting on a bit of a back foot. Nothing to be worried about, Aabha. It is showing strength. We've gone past Wall Street during this week in terms of weekly gains as far as the Nifty is concerned, and IT is back in action. So strong earnings are likely to come in from Infosys, Tech Mahindra, Persistence and Wipro, and that should put the Nifty higher again because IT is a very strong component. IT itself, the index is up 5% so far this week. Therefore, ride the rally and festive spirit is alive at least till Diwali. Lots of macro and domestic positives coming back into the Lal Street. Good days are here again, Aabha.
All right, we will focus a bit on IT on today's show, but first let me go across to the big story we're tracking for you. A conversation which holds the promise of a quick trade deal between the US and India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump had their second phone call in a month last night, reviewing the good progress achieved in the much-anticipated trade negotiations between the two countries. In a post on X, Modi said the two had agreed to stay in close touch over the coming weeks. The latest development has sparked off speculation that a trade deal may be closer than expected. What has fueled the speculation further is a statement by US Commerce Secretary that India will begin rebalancing toward US oil over the coming weeks and months. Let's go across to Business Today economy editor Surbi, who's joining us right now. Surbi, that's a big statement coming in that we might be rebalancing toward US oil over the coming few weeks. Does that mean there is an end to sight on these negotiations?
So, hello. The US has indicated that a trade deal and the removal of the penalty tariffs as well as other 25% tariff can happen only if India looks at either completely curbing or at least lowering its oil trade with Russia. Russia has been in recent years our largest source of oil imports, with India importing roughly 40% of its oil from Russia, given that, it's been coming at a cheaper price. In recent months, however, since this whole trade issue with US has snowballed, India has been trying to increase its oil purchases. As per sources, it seems that the deal that is now being talked with the US, India would try and increase its oil purchase from the US, as well as that of ethanol, which would take care of the US concerns. But at the same time, sources officials have indicated that India will keep a tight control over its autonomy, and it's not looking to completely bow down to US demands.
All right. When are we likely to hear, Surbi, in terms of perhaps the finer details? Any indication? We know that Trump keeps us on our toes with regards to some of those phone calls and tweets. But any indication about what we can expect next?
So there's been a thawing of relations between India and US after the complete standoff in August, when the sixth round of talks were abandoned. The US team had come for a day-long meeting to India, and Piyush Goyal, Commerce and Industry Minister, he'd also gone to the US. And so there's been a thawing, and we understand that virtual discussions have been going on, and it's likely that the sixth round of talks would take place in the coming days. Depends on how the US administration shutdown works. While the fall 2025 deadline, September, October for the first tranche may be difficult now, but it's expected that maybe by the end of the year there could be some positive news on the trade deal. But everyone's being very cautious right now because we don't know what kind of a Trump administration demands will come up again.
All right, Surbi, thanks so much for joining us. It's been an interesting week, clearly, tonality at least shifting towards the more positive side, with lawmakers, first of all, urging Trump to restore ties with India. And now we're seeing both Modi and Trump speak for the second time in a month. So let's see if markets also pick up on some amount of that positive sentiment there. Mayuresh Joshi also joining us this morning. Mayuresh, moving away from global factors for a moment, but looking at the market setup, how's it looking to you? IT clearly going to be in focus today.
Morning, Aabha. Oh, absolutely. I think TCS numbers out and expectations now strongly getting built up in terms of the large names, specifically Infosys and a few of the mid-cap players. So yes, I think that IT will be in focus.
What did you make of the TCS numbers, Mayuresh? A little mixed, good revenue, but the headcount has lowered. We did see Q&Q numbers a little weaker.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think it's also a mixed set. And therefore, I think the commentary was a tad bit encouraging, which probably points out that the second half probably might be a tad bit better when it comes to execution and revenue growth. However, margins might still remain a tad bit under the pump. And therefore, I think our earnings will probably grow for TCS and the sector as a whole might be a little bit soft. It's a lot of headwinds that the sector is probably facing. There might be a few outliers within the entire sector as well. But largely, I think numbers expected to be a little bit soft, and commentary is also expected to just consolidate as we head into the second half.
All right, lots of brokerage calls coming in, of course, on TCS. CLSA keeping an outperform rating at 3,559 rupees a share, expecting, as Mayuresh just said, demand to be better in the second half. We've also got Goldman keeping a buy on TCS, target at 3,300 rupees per share, looking at their foray into data centers and that 1 gigawatt of capacity over the next 5 to 7 years. Also stepping up acquisitions, which it has otherwise really stayed away from. So they see a neutral read across for the rest of India IT as well, that we're now watching out for Infi. That's going to be the next one. All right, let's take a look at the index. Just about flat on open, trending at 25,180 right now. Let's pull up the gainers and losers, but specifically TCS. Let's pull that one up first and see how we're looking on the screens this morning. We've got Citi also coming out with a sell. So we've got slightly differing views. They've actually put a target price of 2,800, saying that revenues in line, but asset intensity is set to increase. So TCS seeing just a marginal pressure that's today down about 0.4% right now, and keeping an eye on some of the other IT majors. Although right now I think IT is looking a little weak this morning, apart from Wipro, which is up 0.6%. Some of the other gainers on your list: SBI Life, we've got Tata Motors, Adani. HCL Tech is also looking good. So perhaps the larger pressures coming from TCS. I'll get that breakup from Shell in a moment. Zomato, Tata Steel, also on the loser side. Tech Mahindra is seeing a bit of pressure. Some of the metal names are seeing pressure as well today. So that's what's happening when it comes to the loser side of the index. Shell, what are you picking up?
Well, Aabha, it's a bit of profit booking on IT. As you very rightly pointed out, bank is doing very good, 91 points higher. And look at some other gainers. Well, a very, very strong move coming into Natco Pharma today. GMDC is doing pretty well. Shipping Corporation of India in the green. So this is an interesting thing I'd like to point out. Post the LG Electronics IPO, listed consumer durable companies are doing good. Look at Whirlpool. 1164, 1.2% higher. Blue Star, 3.5% higher. I also wanted to see Voltas, 2% higher. Remember, summer was really bad this time because of a lot of monsoon. So pent-up demand as far as stock is concerned is there. And a very quick look at advanced decline ratios before I hand it over to you. 1,300 shares in the green, 1,000 in the red. So a victory for the bulls, and 5 indices in the green out of 19. Aabha.
All right, let's go across to Mayuresh as well. That's an interesting spot, that Shell just mentioned, Mayuresh, on some of those durable names. And the LG IPO has really created history. What's your view on some of those stocks?
So need to be a little bit more selective, because what's really going to happen is that as demand comes back very, very strongly in the second half, you're going to see a spurt happen in terms of volumes and value as well. And therefore, I think quarter 3 and quarter 4 will probably be quarters where revival will happen for the sector as a whole. So selectively, I think consumer durables will continue doing well. But valuations, again, a tad bit on the higher side. But I think a few of these ancillaries within consumer durables are, I think something like a cables, as an example, has really not performed well so far. But if I think consumer durables are expected to do well, I think a lot of segments that Havel's probably performs under but actually start making a comeback. And let's not forget that what's that Lloyd's franchise with them as well.
Okay, let's also take a look at any other earnings impact coming in. We got Tata Elxsi with a profit of 154.8 crores versus 144.4 crores. Let's just see if any reaction coming in on that front. We've got some deal buzz on Subex as well. So Tata Elxsi down post earnings. Subex has bagged a 6.6 million Dutch telecom AI deal. Let's see if there's any action on that one as well. Just pulling up some of these newsmakers to see if we're seeing any action there. So Subex, that's why it's hitting it off the charts, up about 8% right now in trade. The other big news we're tracking for you this morning, of course, is what's happening with Tata Trust. After days of being in the headlines because of a rift, the board of Tata Trust is set to meet today. The powerful philanthropic body with around 66% stake in Tata Sons, the controlling company of Tata Group, have seen serious divisions in the past week. The rift even attracted the attention of the Modi government, with 4 top Tata leaders meeting the Home and Finance Minister on Tuesday evening. Let's go across to Business Today Executive Editor Krishna Gopalan. Krishna, take us through the latest developments on this front. I know you've been tracking the story closely, and everyone's eyes on what's really going to transpire here.
Yes, hi, Aabha. It's important and interesting because it's the first meeting right after the officials met with the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah. There will be a couple of issues that will come up. I'm just going to rewind for a moment. The stepping down of Vijay Singh, the Tata Trust nominee from the board of Tata Sons, will be discussed today because they'll now have to decide who from Tata Trust will get onto the board of Tata Sons, an issue that looks extremely contentious with a couple of names doing the rounds as in the past, most prominent being Mel Mistry. So that's going to come up for sure. The other part is the friction within the trustees itself. That obviously has come up for discussion for some time now. What really transpired at the meeting with the minister is something that's unknown, but I'm also given to understand that the directive is pretty clear to at least set the house in order because we really can't afford any level of instability as far as the conglomerate is concerned. So I see these two things. Perhaps a smaller item on the entire agenda could be the potential listing of Tata Sons because it's past the 30th September deadline. The RBI governor, of course, did make a comment at the monetary policy this year, so that will be tracked. But I think fundamentally, more than anything else, it's to ensure that peace prevails and nothing is more important than that.
All right. Krishna, you said that, you mentioned that there could be perhaps, some guesses on who they could put as the governor. But any ideas of the contention or what really the various bodies are angling for here? If you could just dive a little deeper into that as well.
No, I think it really comes at a point where they just want a sense of sanity and tranquility as far as it's concerned, because there's a certain fear that Tata's being a global group, it does have a bearing at the international level. So the last thing the government wants right now is bad news going out. It's been publicized and played out in the media, something the government can scarcely afford. Most importantly, but it comes at a time when the Tatas have committed over $100 billion of investments. It could be projects like Apple, Lockheed Martin, defense, all of it. So there's going to be a stake. There's going to be a stake in terms of international partners also turning on and asking the uncomfortable questions. I think the government would like to allay all these fears and put everything to rest and just ensure that it's business as usual and nothing else.
All right, Krishna, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll stay on top of that story here on Business Today, of course. Let's get back to the markets and take a look at what else is moving. A lot of pressure building up on some of those metal names today. We've got Hind Zinc down about 4%, Hindustan Copper. So profit booking clearly. But Mayuresh, let me come to you on some of the metal counters and get your strategy currently when it comes to that pocket.
No, so Aabha, it really depends in terms of how China will come back, and therefore supply dynamics solely hinge upon China's recovery. Global recovery still looks a little bit tentative as we speak, and therefore I think domestic demand might still continue remaining stronger and resilient compared to global factors at play. And therefore a few of these select ferrous names might do well. But I think one stock which probably stands out as far as we see it at markets with India based on our rating rankings is Neyveli Lignite NLC India. Our own sense is that the kind of volume growth that can come through in terms of mine operations can be significant over the next 2 to 3 years. The expansion in capacities, both thermal and renewable, can double. And the margins can probably, in fact, go 8 to 10% higher over the next 3 years, which makes it a good case for solid and stable earnings, resilience, and growth. And therefore, I think NLC India is something that we continue liking in markets.
All right, so that's an interesting pick this morning. Neyveli Lignite coming in from Mayuresh. Keep an eye on that one. Shell, what else are you picking up from the broader markets?
Well, Aabha, two sets of stocks are doing well. The entire Nifty capital markets segment is ablaze with gains. Look at the Bombay Stock Exchange, look at MCX. Both these stocks are in top form, and the Nifty, of course, back above in the green, 25,232 as far as gains are concerned. And now we are headed definitely to 25,350. We should have a very strong close as far as the Nifty is concerned on a weekly basis. And within the Nifty, you have HDFC Bank, Infosys, Reliance. In the green, these are the top 3 heavyweights as far as prices are concerned, along with ICICI Bank and SBI. So if these 5 are up, there's no point for bears to be on the Lal Street intraday at least, Aabha.
Okay, Shell is very positive this morning. He's had enough of all the profit booking and range-bound trade. So he's looking forward to some bright spots there. But let me also pick up some of those pharma names, Mayuresh, because we saw a little bit of bounce coming into them yesterday, and a few select stocks there are still seeing a bit of an uptick today as well. Within the pharma pack, would there be something that's looking exciting to you?
No, so Aabha, I think what Shailesh said is absolutely right. In fact, I was meeting a clutch of investors और वो बोल रहे थे कि यार बाजार को एक डायरेक्शन पकड़ने दो, इधर ऊपर या नीचे. लेकिन sorry, when it comes to pharma, possibly I think Strides Pharma is something that we continue liking in the mid-cap space. They've got a huge generic pipeline. We've already seen announcements related to the generic part of the pharma business that Trump has probably announced. And therefore, I think the expectations of having a 400 million revenue from the US over the next 2 years probably seems to be on the card because they've got a huge pipeline of ANDAs that are probably expected to get monetized. At the same time, I think the margin expansion in the first quarter was very, very evident both on the gross margins and the EBITDA margin side. Balance sheet remains very, very resilient. The rest of the market should recover as well, which should aid overall earnings along with the recovery in both Europe and the growth markets as well. So Strides is something where our belief is earnings should hold up and do well.
All right, and from pharma to healthcare as well, Mayuresh, I was speaking to the management at PB Fintech and they were talking about, their hospital foray, which is coming up in the following calendar year. So it seems to be that, healthcare also seems to be an opportunity right now with plenty of those hospital counters, new regulations also coming in to smoothen things out for them. They have been very much in the news. Are you also looking at healthcare?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we've remained very, very constructive over the last few quarters on healthcare. And as a space with the new regulations kicking in, that creates an implied positive impact, both in terms of revenue growth, margin expansion. And therefore, I think the constraint that these hospitals faced, I think there is a significant upside in terms of potential revenues going forward. And therefore, as a space, we continue preferring that. Medanta, KIMS is something, Apollo Hospitals is something that we continue holding in our local and global portfolios.
On the consumer stocks, Mayuresh, not the durables, but your hardcore FMCG, we had a few Q2 updates coming in, and while they seemed positive, of course, clearly margins are still fairly thin. Do you see any kind of opportunity there, or would you say there are much better pockets in the market right now?
No, selectively, Aabha, they should do well because I think Q2 was always expected to be a quarter where transition will happen. Again, I think with the reset of GST, a lot of these inventory destocking, restocking will probably take place. And therefore, you will partially see that impact come through in Q2. And therefore, I think Q3, Q4 is where the actual implied demand, both in terms of volumes and value, will actually start paying out. Input costs have gone significantly lower, which provides cushion to the margins that is highly needed for the industry as a whole. And therefore, as a sector, I think it should start performing well as we head into quarter three. And therefore, stocks like Tata Consumer, Marico is something that we continue liking within the space.
Okay, and we have seen a lot of action building up on some of those names. We're almost out of time. Closing comments, Cheryl, anything else that you want to highlight before we wind up the show today?
Aabha, I am extremely positive for the festivities ahead. Lots of strong data coming back. FIIs are easing their sales, and more importantly, Nifty versus the 10-year yield that we track is outperforming. Gold is showing signs of profit booking, and all this money will now move into equities. So good days are coming for the market next week onwards.
All right, Shell, Mayuresh, thank you so much for joining us. It is sounding like a happy Friday. Let's see where we end up at the end of the day. We'll be back with you at 3 p.m. Thanks so much for watching.
Hello and welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi, and joining me today are three guests who understand the fundamentals of what's happening between India and the United Kingdom as far as the landmark